Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing a summer reading recommendation because I really just love watching these types of videos, whether they're seasonal or someone just picks a theme for recommendations and just goes and gives a bunch of book suggestions. I just really love them. I thought I would do a seasonal recommendations video here today, and I'm trying to cover a broad variety of genres, so hopefully there'll be something in this list that you would be interested in reading. The first book that I want to recommend had to be on my list, and it had to be number one because I just read it and it is so summery. I loved it. It was To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. I just have three things to say about this book. 1, mermaids. 2, adventure. 3, pirates. That's a summer read for you right there. Next, I want to recommend a book series because I feel like in the summertime, people tend to have more time for reading because they're going on summer vacations and they're traveling, and there's just kind of this leisurely atmosphere, I feel, that just really gives you a chance to read more books. And I personally love getting into a good series during the summer, so I definitely wanted to recommend The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. I do have a full series review for The Raven Cycle, so I'll just leave that linked below, so if you want to know a little bit more about it, you can go check that video out. But in short, this is like a magical realism, urban fantasy, I'm not really sure how it's classified, story that takes place in a small town in Virginia following Blue, who is the daughter of a psychic who does not have any psychic abilities, and her adventures with the Raven Boys, who are this group of boys named after the school that they attend. And these boys are bent on finding this dead Welsh king. So I'm just gonna leave it there. It's a very wonderful series, and the characters are truly what makes this book series stand out. It's fantastic. I read all of these books this winter, and they were books that I just read one right after the other because I was so hooked in the story and I did not want to let it go. So it's great. All the books are out. It's a series you should get to this summer if you haven't yet done so. Next, I'm going to throw in a contemporary romance because I love contemporary fluffy fun reads for the summer, and so for this video I'm going to be recommending The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This is just straight up fun. I found myself laughing a lot when I was reading this book. This is, as you can kind of tell from the title, a story of two people who hate each other, hence The Hating Game. So these two characters are both executive assistants for their publishing companies, and these publishing companies have merged. So these two characters are rivals. They are trying to fight each other to become the one executive assistant because they're not going to keep both of them. So tensions are high, love is flourishing. It's wonderful. I really liked it. Just super fun to read. I want to throw in another series here because this series is dear to my heart, but it isn't really talked about here on BookTube, and I think it's just because it's an older series. This book series is Across the Universe by Beth Revis, which is a young adult science fiction story that takes place on a spaceship in space. It's good. I was constantly on the edge of my seat while reading this book. There were so many plot twists. It constantly gripped my attention through all of the books, which is just crazy that this did not have a second book slump. I know a lot of series tend to have that. Across the Universe didn't. I really loved all of the books in this series. They all were great in their own right. And it's just not a book series that's talked about here on BookTube. And although I haven't read Illuminae yet, I feel like if you like Illuminae, you'll like Across the Universe. I don't really know if that's true or not because I haven't read Illuminae. So the two final books I have to recommend are historical fiction because I think historical fiction reads really well during the summer. And I have one, it's a World War II historical fiction, and that's The Secrets of a Charmed Life by Susan Meissner. This takes place in London, and it's mostly following this elder sister and a very small family, and it's her life before the war, during the war, and after the war, and it kind of just spans her whole life. Obviously mostly centered around the war itself, but it's a really wonderful story. It's a historical fiction that I haven't really heard many people talking about, so I thought I would recommend it here. And my final recommendation for today is a historical fiction, The Light Between Oceans. I think this is just perfect for summer because it takes place on a lighthouse. What can be more summery than that? Honestly, I do not know. This is one story that honestly will like punch you in your heart. Leia. It's just the mailman. He comes every day, and she's still surprised by him every day. Stop boofing! This is a story of a man and a woman. They are married. They live on this lighthouse. They have a pretty secluded life, as you can imagine. They don't go back to the mainland very often, so it's a quiet but simple, wonderful life. And the wife is longing for a child and she cannot conceive. She's had miscarriages, but there's just been a lot of pain and sadness going along with trying to become a mother. One day, a boat washes up on their shore of the lighthouse that has a dead man and a baby who is alive. So they take the baby, pretend the baby is their own, and raise this child to grow up pretending that this is actually their child, never telling anyone that they had actually found and kind of kidnapped this child. This story was just really incredible. It was heartbreaking and you felt twisted in so many different ways, completely conflicted on what's the right thing. It was a very moving story and I read it in 2 days because I was just so hooked on it. Also, I think I read it pretty much exactly a year ago. I think I read it in June or July last year, so it was definitely a good summer read. If you have any summer reading recommendations for me, I would really love to hear them, so please leave those in a comment below. Thank you so much for watching and happy reading.